Hello, everyone. Hello, Lovenia.
Hi.
So, I'm here to introduce Lovenia Leapart, and she is a storyteller, an author, and all around awesome creative lady.
Thanks.
So, yeah, we're here. Yeah, we're here having conversations with
What you
creative ladies. No, here, look, and here she is. Ta-da! I love these buttons that let me to do this. So I'm like storyteller, author, Lovenia Leapart, plus just all around awesome lady that I found just randomly, and I was like,
We found each other online one day.
no, I was like, yeah, I don't remember what you said, but I was like, I need to know her.
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome.
I think it was about the retreat or something. Yeah. So
It was something fun. Okay, so first thing I want to ask is, what is what's your origin story? How did you get into, like, where did you come from, and then how did you get to where you are as a creative and a writer and just generally?
it was a very meandery story, and I really, call myself a late blooming creative because I really was a person who really just was, do the 9 to 5, just do, get your degrees, you get a stable job. And so I had always wanted to be creative. And I even did a stint in film school when I was like 18, went to New York or whatever. And I got too intimidated, backed out of that, and then went to school and did education because I said, oh, that'll give me time to figure out what I want to do. I have summers and, I can find myself or whatever. And, but that just way led to way in the conventional pattern where I never felt comfortable and the creative was just squashed, my creativity. And then I remember kind of connecting with high school and college friends, and we were all just like not pleased and just kind of dissatisfied, disillusioned with where we were. And I was trying to figure that out. And I started journaling, writing, and I just somehow started creating a fictional story based on characters that had our characteristics. I was just trying to work out what the answers. Why were we all like this and we were so different? We had different majors and stuff like that. And I just lost myself into this story. It just became this huge thing. And I was like, and I would get up every day and I would like write scenes. And I was like, this is awesome. And, and I just fell into it and I just loved it. But I still was like, okay, but how are you going to make a living? You can't. I mean, I didn't think about it. I was like, there was no roadmap for this. And so I kept going on to the 9 to 5, 9 to 5. But then I got to 40 and I just had this moment, I wasn't married or anything like that. I had nothing like tying me down. And I just said, you know what? For my 40th birthday, I'm going to give myself the gift of living like a full-time writer for a year because I had the resources to do that. And I have to say it was the best. And I had no idea what was going to happen, but it was the happiest year of my life. I got up Monday through Friday. I wrote like it was a job. I showed up. I had just come across Julia Cameron, The Artist's Way, about showing up at the page and, all this stuff. And like, I did that. And then I did NaNoWriMo, which is National Writing Month. And I did the 50,000 words. You know what I mean? And I would go to the typewriter some days, literally with nothing to say. And I would just type gibberish for real, like on my computer. That's what I said, do. Just go and do it every time the same day. But eventually, stuff would come out, scenes would come out, and things, sometimes on days when I didn't feel like it the most, stuff would come out. And I was like, you know what? They know what they're talking about, these people. And so I just really started immersing myself and learning about creativity and how it unfolds and how it flourishes, and was just paying attention to my own journey. And then I felt so good. I started walking because part of Julia Cameron is like, walking every day. And then that led to me getting a little like, I was getting in shape. And then I said, oh, I was getting a little bored. Let me do Zumba. And I lost like 30 pounds and I was just happy. And at the end of that period, I was like, okay, I have to make this a priority. So basically what happened was I went from my creativity being in the closet and kind of me fitting it in whenever I could, to making the decision that, okay, creativity has to be on the front burner. This is the priority. And how can I design and organize my life in support of that first? And that's been a continuing journey to this point. But each year I've gotten more and more clear about it with other resources and stuff. Desire Map by Danielle Laporte being one of the main ones. Hope that wasn't too long.
No, that was perfect. In fact, there's a couple things I was curious about. Let me start with so it sounds like, and I think this is true for a lot of people, so I'm just going to comment and kind of highlight it. When you do what's in your heart, and for you, it's creativity. Like when you do what you're, for me, I think it's like what you were born here supposed to do, you know, but really supposed to do in that it allows you to be your fullest, truest self, whatever
Yeah.
that is. I don't mean like supposed to, like you're going to be punished if you don't. I mean just like when you came down to this planet or whatever your beliefs are, but when you get here and you have your truest, fullest, most authentic self, that's when your joy happens. Like
Yeah. Yes.
that's when things start falling into place. You're like, I just lost 30 pounds and I wasn't even trying. Like it just did it because I was doing things that felt good. And da, da, da. I think that's, yeah. So
And
I
I
love
feel
that.
I mean, and it really was, and I had all this negative baggage about why I couldn't do it. Oh, creativity doesn't pay your bills. And then, of course, I love Elizabeth Gilbert's take. And yeah, it's not supposed to, but I still had, okay, so, how could I justify spending this much time and giving this much focus to something that wasn't bringing an income? Particularly coming from my family background and humble beginnings, it was just like, it just was no justification for me to do that up until, like I said, I just had a complete shift. And, so, I didn't really come into that. I had, like I said, all this negative baggage about it. And then comparing myself to others, because your unfolding takes time and it will be awkward and it may even be ugly. It may be silly, just like, a baby learning how to walk. And so, but what inspires us oftentimes are people who have arrived, and our first clumsy steps. It's like, huh? You know what I mean? We don't see that evolution with them. We don't see first drafts. We just see the polished book with the jacket and all the wonderful endorsements. And we don't see that. And so comparing our awkward first steps to people who have arrived, it really can shut you down. And it definitely did for me too. So,
Oh yeah. It's like comparing like a baby who's learning to walk against like Michael Johnson or something. You're like, you know, no, they've been practicing for a while. They have coaches.
intellectually, and even if intellectually we know that, and
Yes.
we still just, for some reason, at least for me, I intellectually knew that, but I just really still just didn't embrace it like I should have. And I think part of it has to do, and that's why it comes back to what I was saying about Danielle Laporte.
Mm-hmm.
I never gave myself a chance to really step into it. And so, but once I did, the feeling was so great. I couldn't go back. I couldn't close myself back up and fold everything back up and put it away, because it had, you know what I mean? I had like really stepped into this, like, this is where I'm supposed to be. Feels right. It feels just right. And so I was just not going to relinquish that. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. I actually have more questions about that, and about that moment when you decided. And I'll share my story, because I had a similar story. So because I was working as a administrative, or as an assistant, okay, an admin assistant, but in a very small company. So I was working directly under the VP of sales and marketing, and there was just the two of us in the department. So super small company. And he quit the job. And at the time I was at home, like reading Tim Ferriss and Stephen Pressfield, and I'm reading all these people, Danielle Laporte. I've got all these books that I'm reading. I'm like, I'm going to start my own business. I had just signed up for B school, and my boss, my supervisor, quit. And there's only two of us in the whole sales and marketing department. And so I went and applied for his job, and I didn't get it. And so, no, I know, it's okay. So what happened is that the owner of the company didn't hire anybody to replace him. So I'm doing two people's jobs. Anyways, this is the details of the story, which leading up to, I was like, I'm working two people's jobs. How do I like have time now to do my own thing? And I had this going through my mind, like for months. Like, how do I have time? Like, how can I make time? And I was asking like the universe, like I was asking God, I'm like, how do I get time to do this, my own thing? Because I was not put on this planet to be an admin,
Mm.
like, and so, um, and one night, like, I mean, literally, it was like, snap, the whole plan. Like, the whole plan just fell into my, it was like, I felt like, the way I describe it is like angels whispered in my ear, and it was like, it was like,
Yeah.
yeah, it was like, oh, this is what I'm going to do. And it wasn't it was the answer to how am I going to, it was like, sublet your apartment, quit your job, go to Idaho where your dad, my dad had, my family's from here, and we had an empty farmhouse. Nobody was living in it. And it's not fancy or anything, but I'm like, I don't need fancy. It had the internet, And so it was like, okay, I had a whole plan, and within a week, like, I cleaned up my apartment, got it like nice, put it on Craigslist to see if anybody would want to sublet it. Within 24 hours, I had 12 people, and I sublet it for $500 per month more than I was paying in rent. So I was like, I had the whole plan to have 3 months, because I was like, I'm going to take the summer.
Yeah.
Anyways, and I did, and everything fell into place so beautifully. It was like it was divinely assisted, because that's what happened. And like you said, I can't go back. I can't go back to. I'm like, no, I can't. No, I didn't go and live. I didn't go and. Yeah. So that was, but there was definitely like.
But I had a moment. Yeah.
You have a moment? Yeah, tell me about that, because that's why I shared mine.
Yeah, I have to say that, and this is my recent post on my website was just about, leap and the net will appear kind of thing. And, this is just a sidebar, but when I saw that interview with Elizabeth Gilbert and Marie Folio, where she was like, leap and the net will appear, Elizabeth Gilbert was like, sometimes it may not catch you. And I'm like, okay, finally somebody's telling my story.
Yeah.
But it did. But the thing is that I felt like, I got so bruised and all that stuff in the process of the net appearing that it didn't feel like it at the time. But everything happened exactly the way it was supposed to. Just in the moment, I couldn't feel that the net was there. But anyway, that's the sidebar. But mine was like a sense of frustration, like I said, because, mine was at pivotal 40. And, you're taking stock, a relationship that, I thought had a future coming apart, and just saying, okay, like up until this point, you've kind of been wishing things would be different, you know what I mean? Waiting for the right time. And I'm like, and then in the midst of frustrations, trials and stuff, all in the service of upholding this conventional life. And it's just something occurred to me like, okay, why can't you go through these same things in support of a life that is what you want? Why are you willing to go through what everybody goes through in life, like life, but in support of a lifestyle that doesn't even support you, that doesn't let you embrace your creativity? Why are you doing this? And then at the same time, I got a blog post from a writer named Tana Reeve-Du, who I really love, about throwing your backpack over the fence and figuring out a way to get the backpack. So me moving to Charlotte because I was in DC working a contract job for the Department of Justice, and which had no future for me to come on as a federal employee. And that was something I had to kind of come to grips with. So anyway, I moved to Charlotte, and that was me throwing my backpack over the fence. So it was another thought. So it was the backpack over the fence analogy. It was realizing that I had kind of, and, I was living life with all its ups and downs, but in support of something that wasn't really me. And the idea that I had invested thousands of dollars, because I had like a nest egg. I had invested thousands of dollars in degrees. Well, my education degree, which was okay, but it wasn't where my heart was. And then my English degree, which definitely was great, but it was like, it's okay. And I did that, but why can't I invest thousands of dollars in my future as a writer? And that's what gave me permission to go down and live like a writer, because I'm like, okay, society will tell you, okay, get that degree, invest in that, take that course. But what about me just giving myself time to just live my life for a year? And so that's what I did. So those 3 things kind of came together. Yeah. And it was the impetus for me to just take the leap. So
I love, see, and this is another thing, and I don't know, this isn't exactly what we were planning on talking about, but I think it's important to realize, like, if you had gotten that federal job, you wouldn't be living your creative life.
Oh, I
right
would have taken it. And that's why I said God, it's like God knew. I would have taken, even if I had gotten married and had kids, I would have leaned into that, honey. I'd have been like, oh. And the guy who I was going to get married, he really didn't get that creative part of me. It was that yin and yang thing. He's very much, together. But that part of me that was creative was just like this flighty, nuisancey thing. You know what I mean? And so that was another thing that, once again, it was like my confidence in myself. Everything is a reflection of you, right? So I had this man in my life who treated my creativity like that. So why wouldn't I? You know what I mean? Like, so of course, it's the reason that I was doing that. So it's just like I said, that whole shift. And it chafed against that he was doing that. But there were so many other good things that I thought, okay, that's, the price you have to pay kind of thing. So, but yeah, I feel like, it's just certain things that I think you get to a point where you make that leap or not. I mean, and that's the thing. It's like, now I'm helping people, but I wouldn't necessarily advocate. There's a way to do it in a way that is smoother, I think, than the way I did it. But the way I did it was how I needed to, because I needed to grow. I needed to learn self-validation. I need to learn a whole host of things that the way things unfolded for me allowed to happen. So,
yeah. So, I don't think it has to be like you jump off the cliff and you're like, oh my gosh, and maybe you bump a couple things before you figure out, like, oh.
And I mean, I was supported. It was fine. And then, and that's the thing. It's like doing that, and having that experience allowed me to make the leap to go to China. So it was like way led to way in a good way this time. That's why I said it was like, way led to way to have me in this life that didn't fit. And then once I just completely extracted myself from that and went kind of somewhat leaping in another direction, way led to way, and in a way that has just been great. Like I said, I've had my bumps and bruises, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
Look at you now. Beautiful. Awesome. Happy. Helping other people. I want to ask you about that. So you're helping other people. Like, how has this happened? Because I imagine
this is all like a baby kind of idea, and it kind of came to me like very organically. And the way I'm doing it now is very informal. Like I'm the thing that's making it official at this point is that I have the retreat that's coming up in Oaxaca, Mexico. Mm-hmm. But I have friends, like we were in my book club. They got this, and they got this wild hair that they want to experiment with writing because they came across a book club who the whole book club wrote a book together. So he was like, oh, let's do this. And they were like, oh, you're the only one who's published Lovenia. You go ahead and, you show us how to do it. And it was like, at first I was like, oh, nah, I'm not going to do this. And then once I took it on, and I think the teacher education background came in, and I came up with a whole like lesson plan, workshop thing. So when I came to the meeting, they were all like, what? And I really had, I had this whole plan. And I executed it, and they had a ball. And even more importantly, I had a ball. Like the type of the stories, characters, and scenes that came out of them, they were just so shocked. And I just love that they were so shocked. You know what I mean? And one of them's accountant. She didn't even like think she had any creativity in her. And it just I just loved that experience. And they were like, oh, come back. But at that point I was moving up to Maryland. For some other reason. And I couldn't really follow up, but subsequently they have individually, approached me and asked me for help and different stuff. And then I have another friend who, had like a poem she had written about her child who was born prematurely. And I said, this could be a really good child's book. And she was like, you think so? And so I kind of pushed her along with another friend, and we kind of coached her into writing this. And I thought, you know what? I love doing this. Like, I love doing this. You know what I mean? So it's just like, and so now I'm working with two ladies, coaching them through or guiding them through the artist way. And it's just me learning. I've enrolled in Eric Mazel's creativity coaching course. And I completed one course, but I have to do the second one. And so I'm just learning and doing my thing. And it's just extremely enjoyable, but it's just me learning what people need and what they struggle with, because I know what I struggle with, and it would be premature for me to say, okay, this is my problem, so this is everybody else's problem. So right now I'm just kind of like getting a feel for what do people really struggle with around their creativity. Is it like what I have struggled with? Is it not? And how can I help people based on, where, my journey. So
Yeah. Yeah. And it all, oh gosh, the universe or God or what have you is so incredible, because all of a sudden, all these degrees that you thought you were just getting for practical reasons come into play. And it's like, actually, we knew that at some point you would need this to be able to, oh my gosh.
exactly. Because teaching, it's like, I love teaching, but I never fit into the K through 12. I was teaching 7th grade, and, that never like fit me, but teaching in relation to helping people kind of unfold their creativity is perfect. It's perfect for me.
So what are some of that you're finding? And I know you're doing the creativity coaching course right now, but what are some of the common challenges that people have, like the barriers that they have to being creative?
One of them is two things. They are unsure about their talent. And that's why I love Eric Maisel, my teacher. What his quote is, creativity is not about talent. Creativity is the fruit of a person's decision to matter. That's it. And so people get caught up in, do I have talent? And I remember when I went, because, my English degree was creative writing concentration. That was my concentration.
Mm-hmm.
And the lady who was directing the program, I remember when I was, thinking about going to the school, and I gave her my sample, and I was like, is this good? Is it talent? Do I have talent? Tell me now before I enroll and waste all my time. That's how it was.
Yeah.
And she didn't even answer the question like she did. And now I know in retrospect why she didn't, because it's not even about that. It's about, are you going to be dedicated? Do you have the love for yourself to nurture this seed and allow it to grow? That's really, really what it's about.
Yeah, sorry.
And that's one of the things I love about my book club. It's like, we'll read a book and 8 of us will have 8 different opinions. Right? So, talent is such a subjective thing, and we get so bogged down with that. So that's what I find. People, they don't know if they have the talent. They're unsure about their abilities. They're doing that comparative thing. Mm-hmm. Or they convince themselves that they don't have enough time, which, from Stephen Pressfield, is just a lie. So, and that's just a matter of, are you going to allow yourself to matter, or does the creativity mean that much to you? Because, and there was this TED talk, and I'm just going to be really brief, but this lady was like, somebody told her they didn't have enough time to do whatever it was, but for this coming week that, they said was important, but I don't have enough time. So anyway, they had a flood in their house, right? And this flood, and dealing with the insurance adjusters and having people come over and getting the carpet cleaned and the water sucked out, it wound up costing that person about 7 to 9 hours that week. Yeah. And she was all telling the lady about it, lamenting. And she was like, I thought you said you didn't have any time. Well, she was like, well, with this emergency, of course I had to move stuff around. So long story short, people think they don't have time, but what they're doing is they're not making it a priority. That's it. You're just going to have to say no to certain other things. And that's it. So that's what I'm finding.
Yeah. I think I've talked about this a few times. I don't know. It's something I've been thinking about a lot often. And I think, and it comes up, and I don't know who said this, but it's looking at what is urgent versus what is important.
Yes. I think, I can't remember who said it. Yes. Who said that?
I don't know. I can Google it and find out. But basically
we do a lot of the same stuff. So that's why.
No, it's true. We do. But the concept is, for anybody who hasn't read what Lovenia and I have read, is that urgent things are things that come up that just like come up like, and they like grab your attention. You're like, oh shoot, I really need to vacuum because or oh shoot, I need to get the oil changed, or oh shoot, but they're like in the moment, urgent things that happen that you have to take care of that can suck up all your time. And at the end of the day, you're like, okay, what did I really get done today? And you're like, well, I put out all these fires. Mm-hmm. Important things are the things that maybe that are really important to you. For me, that's like your heart's calling, or whatever that is, that don't make any visible difference in your day-to-day life, Like you don't necessarily see like that you completed anything or, like, but you can feel it. And those are the things that you have to, like you're saying, like, if you want to be creative, creativity isn't going to like necessarily wash your dishes for you. Right? But when you go to bed at night, this is where when I know I'm doing it is I go to bed at night and I feel satisfied because I'm like, I did, even if I just do it for 30 minutes a day, like even if I'm just able to squeeze out just 30 minutes, I'm like, oh.
Yeah. I mean, because, and what you're saying, and like you said, tasks, they're important, but you go to bed and you feel more satisfied, which actually influences your emotional well-being, your mental well-being, right? Makes you feel good enough to maybe even do some working out exercise, maybe. But all of that is still, and that's still something that's value. It may not be something you can take to the bank. Yes. It may not be something that is a visual task completed, but it is something that is still valuable. And that's what comes back to us, and are we treating ourselves good enough to do things that make us feel good that don't necessarily mean, okay, this is a tangible piece of value that everybody else has agreed on in the society is valuable. You know what I mean? Or is it that, or something that, when people come into my house, they can see that I've done this. It's like, this is for me. You know what I mean? And two, I had this secret dream of being a writer, but once I gave myself that year and I actually wrote, I actually produced, then I could get around people and I could say, yeah, I'm a writer and really believe it, and be confident because I got up and I wrote, like I said, I was going to write 2,000 words today. I did it. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. So,
yeah. And I think people are attracted to people who are going after whatever that dream is. Like they might not say outright, oh yeah, I want to be a writer. Like, I think a lot of people won't say that, but they'll come to you like they call you individually and be like, so I've been thinking about something because I think I want to, because everybody has something in their heart that I truly believe this, that they want to bring out. And it might be something big or it might be something little. I don't know what it's going to be, but everybody has something. And you can recognize when somebody else is doing that, even if they're not perfect at it, even if they're just on the journey, like you and I are on the journey, right? But you can recognize it. And there's something you're like, okay, I kind of want to do what she's doing. There's something in the planet also right now that I think is calling to people to they're like, this isn't working. The way that we've been doing it isn't working. And there's got to be another path. And I think for me, this is the path, is bringing out what's been, like, encouraging and helping people to do what's in their hearts and bring it out into the world. And then if everybody was doing that, it would be a whole entirely different world.
Oh my gosh. Really. Because I feel like, even when I meet people who are just like doing what they want to do, what feels right. Even in the midst of whatever struggles, financial, whatever, they're just happier, more compassionate people. They just are. And I know why. And now I know why. Because I'm in that place. And it's just like, because it's like when I was, trying to, and that's the thing too with the retirement, because that was my other thing. Like, my family didn't understand, preparing for retirement properly and blah, blah, blah. And then I had this moment where, you know what, you're trying to create a way of working, the type of work that you would never want to retire from. You would never want to retire from. You would want to do it to the day you die. So I don't have to think like other people think about, okay, let me hurry up and store all this money so I can get out of this job I like and then be me. Like, that's not my mentality now. That's not to say that I'm not wanting to, plan for my financial future and that I'm planning for my financial future. But people who are in this like job that they, kind of want to get out of as soon as possible so they can start like actually enjoying life. Like I can't think like that because that's not my goal. You know what I mean? That's not where I am. And I just feel like a lot of people do a lot of deferring to later. And I'm just like, life is too short. And that's such a, that saying is just, it kind of like loses its power because it's been done and said so much, but
I
It's
know.
cool.
But once you get it, then you're like, oh, this is why people say that. I finally get the power behind that phrase, even though I've heard it a million times.
And you know what it was, and it brought home to me because I was at a book club meeting, and they, one of the questions that was going around was, knowing what you know now, what would you tell your younger self to do, like, differently? Like, what would you have her do, your younger self, right now, knowing what you know? And I would say, I would have my younger self do exactly what I'm doing now. And I didn't even realize that. But when I answered the question, I was like, all right. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, knowing what I know now, I would tell my younger self to just do this earlier. But I'm like doing what I should have been doing. So I was like, and so I felt really in alignment. And I was like, okay, this feels good. Nobody else is quite. Everybody was like, oh, I would tell them to do this. I would be more confident, take more risks, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, that's all I'm doing. I'm taking more risks. I'm doing this. So I just felt so relieved. And so, like, I just felt like right on point.
Yeah. So. That's so awesome. And on that note, so I want to ask you, we're going to close out. I want to ask you, you said that you have this retreat, and it's your first retreat that you're probably going to be doing more. You told me this before we started the recording. So what is it is it a creativity retreat?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's 4 days, 4 nights, 5 days in Huataco, Mexico, which Huataco is a small beach town in Oaxaca, in southern Mexico. And I will have AM workshops, that are designed to unfold your creativity and just actually kind of get you to see how close your actual day-to-day life is to what your ideal creative life is, to see how far that may be and what the gaps are, and kind of get some type of clarity around how your creativity may express itself, and then to develop a plan for how you can kind of like close that gap between where you are and where you would like to be. Just kind of develop a plan, what you would like to have happen, how you can, without like jumping off a cliff, but how you can take your existing life and just make little tweaks and adjustments to slowly get you to where you are going in the direction you want to go in. Those are the AM workshops. We're all in a beautiful, lovely beach house together. And we'll have breakfast, morning meditation, and then we'll do the workshops in the morning, lunch, and then the afternoon, you're kind of free to do whatever you want. You can work on a book or work on a painting. You can tour the town. You can take a cooking class, whatever you want to do. And then dinner is included. So, and I'll probably have people, 2 nights will probably be at the beach house. And then we'll have a group excursion one day, and we'll have a group lunch. But then I'll let people go off and do their own thing, probably for dinner a couple nights, so they can kind of do whatever they want. And the food is vegetarian. So,
awesome.
Yeah. So on my website, there's a whole page for information.
And I put the website here.
Okay, yes.
So
that's it. Living creatively is divine.
After the retreat happening, she's going to be doing more retreats, so you can still find her at Living Creatively is Divine. Yeah. Wherever you want to find Lovenia, that's where she's going to be at. The best way to find her is at Creative Living.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm if they want to find me on Facebook, that's fine too. Lovenia Anissa, that's my name, so they can do that too.
Okay. Awesome.
It's been great.
I know. Thank you so much.
You know, we could keep talking, right? We can keep going and going.
I know. We could keep going for a long time. But for now,
yes.
Say goodbye to everyone.
Bye.
And this is Ella, and right here now, Lovenia from Creative Ladies, and we will see you later.
Bye.